carolinaprepper.com. If you're looking for quality food storage for hiking, fishing, hunting, basic survival needs, or just for everyday use, check out our food storage line at carolinaprepper.com. We also carry other fine quality products, such as our can-can concealment holsters for men and women. Keeping your firearm under cover and within reach puts confidence in your hands in any situation. Our products are 100% American-made. Check us out today at carolinaprepper.com.
And now, it's time to Stand for Truth with the host of Stand for Truth Radio, Susan Knowles.
And welcome to the program, everyone. I am your host, Susan Knowles. So glad that you could be with us today. Please check out my website, if you will, at susanknowles.com. And don't forget to follow Stand for Truth Radio with a variety of shows I do, such as Knowles on the News and God's Views on Political News with my co-host, Bill Cloud. To hear all the podcasts, just go to Spreaker.com or download the Spreaker phone app. Type in Stand for Truth Radio with Susan Knowles, and you'll be up to date with us on everything right there. All the shows can also be heard on iHeartRadio. Now, the easiest way to find the shows is just to go to susanknowles.com. Look for that big iHeartRadio logo, and it'll take you to all of the podcasts on iHeartRadio. Finally, follow me on Twitter at Susan Knowles. Now, today my guest is Larry Ward. Larry Ward is the chairman and founder of the Constitutional Rights PAC at constitutionalrightspac.com. He's also president of Political Media Incorporated, a right-of-center new media consulting firm located on Capitol Hill. Over the past 6 national election cycles, Mr. Ward's company has compiled a consistent winning record in its political and public relations campaigns. Ward has achieved his success through merging almost 2 decades of advertising knowledge and political savvy, providing unparalleled solutions for today's political environment. Additionally, he's an outspoken defender of the Constitution and Bill of Rights, most recently organizing and participating in the Million Veteran March to the World War II Memorial in response to the October 2013 federal government shutdown. So let's welcome to the show Larry Ward. Welcome, Larry.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, did I get all of that straight?
Yeah, it just reminded me that I've got to update my bio.
Tell me what I left out.
Well, no, I mean, we certainly hosted the Million Veterans March, which was one of the best days of my professional career, where when the Obama shut down the government, put those barricades up in front of the World War II Memorial, and the veterans came and tore them down and threw them at the White House. That was us, but that was in 2013. So we've done some stuff in since that point.
Can you name a couple things maybe that you've done that we would know about and like
Sure.
to hear about? Cool.
Sure. We organized the movement to keep Kevin McCarthy out of the Speaker's chair.
Nice.
That was a successful movement. We were the only group that was spearheading that at the time because everybody thought it was fait to complete, and we put together a coalition of organizations that would stand with us, and kept him from becoming speaker. And unfortunately, we got Paul Ryan as speaker, and we did try to stop that and was unsuccessful. So we've had some pretty good successes. We also organized Gun Appreciation Day in 2013, and every day we're working with right of center causes, trying to project and promote liberty in our country and stop the establishment and the Democrats from doing everything they can to to try and take that liberty away from us and control every aspect of our lives.
Yeah, and I think under Obama that was certainly much more needed, not that it isn't still, because we still have the left fighting to take away our constitutional freedoms. But under Obama, it really wasn't looking good at certain points.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And the day that Trump won the election, the next day I woke up, I went outside. It was beautiful in Virginia where I live, and I just felt the weight of the world coming off my shoulders. But it didn't take long before the reality set in that the establishment is not going to go away. That the liberals and the people who are promoting more and more government, they're going to soon realize that Trump and the Trump presidency and the people who elected Trump want to take away their income. They want to take away their power. They want to take away their slush fund, and they're going to fight back. And it's up to us to make sure that the promises that Trump made can get delivered by doing whatever we can to put pressure on Congress and to put pressure on the judges, the activist judges that are out there to let them know that the American people are still for liberty and they're still for our Constitution and our constitutional rights.
And you talk about what happened when after President Trump won. Have you ever seen in your lifetime an administration that is basically fighting to keep itself in power? And certainly those people, on the left are trying to do that. Have you ever in your lifetime seen something like that?
Well, of course not. But there's never been a president, maybe outside of Reagan, and the first couple of months for Reagan were no picnic and ended up in an assassination attempt. There was never really a president like Trump who wanted to disassemble the establishment and take away their power and return it to the people. We haven't seen an executive like this before, and who didn't care about what the media was saying about them, and they were going to do what the people elected them to do. And that's what this administration is, in my opinion, tried to do every step of the way.
And I think it's really obvious. You can see who on the left and on the right have or feel that they have the most to lose because they're the ones that are coming out the most. On the right, I can think of John McCain, who takes every opportunity possible to go in front of the camera and talk about this president in a negative way. And most people on the left. But, I mean, is that surprising to you, for example, that John McCain does that?
I'm not sure John McCain knows what he's saying at this point anymore. But no, it's not surprising at all. I mean, look, these are the same characters, right? Mm-hmm. That said, they would like to murder Ted Cruz on the Senate floor. I mean, these are the same people that every time conservatives stand up, they say things like, we're going to punch you in the nose, like Mitch McConnell said during the 2014, primary elections. These are the same people that in the McDaniel race, did in Mississippi, the Senate primary, followed Haley Barbour into some of the most disgusting tactics we've ever seen in a primary to basically steal that election from McDaniel. So I mean, these are the same people who have stood in the way of every constitutional bill and rollback and clawback that we've tried to have implemented, in the last 15 years.
Well, and I think what's so good too, like today is a really good day. Today is a really winning day, and it started off the week really well, where we have the Supreme Court coming down and saying, we are reversing what you did, Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, and I call them Ninth Circus Court of Appeals, most liberal court in the United States, and the other courts that block the travel restrictions that President Trump put on those people coming into this country that could harm us. So today is a day where the Supreme Court has said until we hear the case in full in October, we're going to reverse those things. So anybody that has no connection, no relationship with the United States or an entity here, you have to stay out. I mean, what are your thoughts about that?
Well, it's like I said, it's a partial victory, but the fight's certainly not over. I think that we definitely have the court back where we need it, with Neil Gorsuch on the court, and hopefully the perennial swing vote Anthony Kennedy retires soon. There's rumors that he may retire today, or tomorrow, or this week, or sometime soon. And if he does, then perhaps we can get another Gorsuch level member in there. And the 2016 election was not only important to defeat Hillary Clinton and her cast of criminals, but also to protect the Supreme Court for generations. And if we can get another Gorsuch or Scalia-like member of the Supreme Court, our Constitution is going to be protected for a long time.
And Justice Kennedy, I have to say, I tell this story. He was a professor at my law school at the time, and he was the number 3 pick for the Supreme Court. People were kind of worried about him then because of the fact that he is such a moderate. But as you can see, over time, he has gone more left-leaning moderate than just moderate. And I think, as you said, it would be great for him to go ahead and retire. He's been on the bench for 29 years now. Get him out, get Ginsburg out, because I'm not even sure that she's listening to cases anymore. And I say that not to be disrespectful, but when you see her, she seems to be in poor health, and it appears at times to be sleeping when people are talking, not in court, but when they're having, when the president's speaking somewhere, whatever. And that's not really a good sign to see in public. But I do think that we do need to really, as conservatives, we need to work to get more conservatives on the bench and to make sure that we don't get moderates like Justice Kennedy because of the fact that they could swing further left as time goes by.
No, absolutely. And hopefully we have, we're able to get Ginsburg's seat, although didn't she say she was going to leave the country if Trump won? I guess she didn't keep that promise.
Yeah, I know. Maybe she's sleeping through that now. They're sleeping through that promise. I don't know.
Yeah, hopefully she decides that enough is enough and retires. But in the interim, we have to hold on to the presidency so that when these seats do come up, we can stack the deck and put constitutional originalists on the court.
What do you think President Trump might do? Do you think because the left always says, well, and I think he was named Justice or Judge Merrick, I believe is his name. They keep saying, well, you didn't look at him. Obama really wanted him as on the Supreme Court, and you really need to look at him because it's not fair. Whatever the left always says. Do you think that President Trump will fall for that, or do you think that he's going to go forward and just put conservative after conservative on the bench?
Well, I don't know. Will he fall for it? I don't think so. I certainly hope not. There'll be a lot of pressure to put someone like Merrick Garland on the bench to take the swing vote, keep the swing vote intact. And you'll hear, a lot of pundits talking about that if Kennedy does retire. They'll be talking about, well, you got Gorsuch for Scalia. That was a 1-to-1, and now let's get a more moderate swing vote on the court. Well, no, that's not how it works. We elected Trump because we want a more conservative court. So, we'll certainly be pushing the administration and Trump to select a conservative for the court. Merrick Garland, may be a nice man. I've heard. He's a capable judge, but he certainly, is no originalist or constitutionalist, and therefore shouldn't even be considered.
And we're going to have to keep reminding it, not so much President Trump, because he gets it. I really think he gets it. But I think the Congress members, we're going to have to keep reminding them that we don't want, that we don't want a liberal justice on the Supreme Court, that also we are the majority. We have the House, the Senate, and the presidency. Stop giving it over to the left every opportunity. And I think, some of the people that have in mind is, again, John McCain, Paul Ryan. I don't really trust him in being a conservative Republican. And other people on there just seem to, they want to just give it away. And that's not, it's like when you're winning and you have the winning team, you don't just say, okay, well, we'll just hand it over to you. No, you work hard, you get it, and you keep it. I mean, what are your thoughts about that?
You're absolutely right. It's astounding to me that we're having so much trouble trying to get a repeal bill through the House that the House and the Senate both voted for. We have a president that said he would sign it, and yet we act as though we're in the minority. It's funny because we in 2010, the Republicans said, hey, we could stop Obamacare if you give us the House. And in 2014, they said, well, we can stop Obamacare if you give us the Senate. And then in 2016, they said, well, the only way we're going to be able to stop Obamacare really is if we get the presidency. and we gave them all three. And now it seems like they're saying, well, we really don't have the power because we're in the majority. We need the minority in 2018 to stop Obamacare. It's absurd.
It is absurd. Yeah,
We've got the votes, pass it.
Exactly. And, a lot of that talk was under John Boehner, who, by the way, and and everybody else knows, he carried the water for President Obama. He gave him everything he wanted. I mean, it was sickening to watch. And
was it water or whiskey?
Yeah, exactly. And tobacco, obviously, because he's with, where he ended up at. But, these people, again, they had all of this lobbyist money. They were happy to sit there and say whatever they needed to say and continue to have their jobs and stay in power. And I think, we're going to have to start showing these Republicans that are there, that are, lifetime career Republicans and the Democrats too, that we want people who serve the public. That's why you're there, not to serve yourself, not to fill your pockets, but to serve the public. And again, this president understands that, and that's why he stopped all the lobbyist money for them, and they don't like it. They don't like anything about him. And we always, I think the public, we've got to continue to have his back, and we've got to convince these people in Congress, this is what we want you to do. If you don't do it, we're getting rid of you.
Absolutely. Look, and we have to have his back particularly when he's fighting the establishment, particularly when he's fighting the Democrats and the liberals. But there are moments, where we have to look at to hold the president accountable to his promises and things of that nature. The Senate health care bill that they're promoting from the White House is garbage. Yeah. It's terrible. It's Obamacare with an insurance bailout masked as a repeal bill. It's not a repeal bill. And so, it's important for us also to hold the president feet to the fire when he's, going off the reservation a little bit. And quite frankly, I never believed that Trump was, Trump said in the past that, he thought universal health care was a good thing. He did make that statement. And quite frankly, I don't think that he has the same passion to repeal Obamacare, or never did, as us conservatives do. I think that he looks at it as a compassion issue. But quite frankly, he's wrong on this. And, we ought to, let Congress know, let the Senate know, let the House know, don't give us Obamacare with an insurance bailout. It's absolutely unacceptable.
Well,
we have to be better than that.
Yeah, and I agree with you. We do have to hold the president accountable when things are when he's doing something that he didn't promise, or promised that he wouldn't do, or whatever the case may be, or it's going against conservative values. I've looked a little bit at the healthcare in the Senate right now, the 142 pages. It's very difficult to read, and frankly, I don't have all day to sit there and compare and what it was with Obamacare and what it is now. But a lot of it looked like it got rid of a lot of taxes that were in Obamacare, but it didn't really get rid of a lot of what was in Obamacare. I, for one, think the government should be out of the healthcare industry. Period. We shouldn't even be having this discussion, but since we have, and unfortunately we have a socialist program, and that's the way I look at it. Obamacare was a socialist program that people have gotten used to and for 8 years, and they feel like they're entitled to have it. I don't know what was wrong with what we had before, with just expanding the insurance company's ability to allow us to go, all 50 states and look for an insurance plan that was more affordable for us. And I do realize that pre-existing conditions was a real problem. I guess that, since we're in it already in socialist territory, we're going to continue to look at that, and I understand that. But I think it's really important for people to understand that those people that were going to be covered on Obamacare were really just a very small percentage of the population. That's all they ever were. And we expanded it to everyone, and it's failing. It's not going to work. It is going away, and we're going to end up with a one-payer system or this Senate health care bill that we have now. And I agree with you. This is not what I wanted. I want a total and complete repeal of Obamacare. And then I guess, again, because we're sort of in socialist territory, we need to start over and look at what really will work for the American people.
Oh, absolutely. Well, like I said, the idea that the pre-existing conditions and there is the horror stories from before Obamacare, where insurers were taking people's premiums, right, and then when they got sick, they got cancer or something, basically dropping them,
right,
but there's a word for that. It's called fraud.
Right.
And here's the difference. They're already breaking the law. If there was a contract in place, or even most people don't read every word of their insurance contract, so there's probably some legalese that the insurance companies use to get around this. We can decide that if you have an insurance policy in force, it damn well better take care of you when you get sick.
Right.
We can all. I think everybody can agree with that. That's obscene. It's absurd. It's immoral. It's wrong. And insurance companies should not be able to cut someone's coverage off when they've been paying their premiums. And that is absolutely a must-have. But here's what happens when you have a one-payer system, right?
Right.
And there's nobody to advocate to. So if the government, for whatever reason, decides that this isn't covered for you in the future, well, who are you going to complain to? The government?
Exactly.
Right? So the government has a role in enterprise and in healthcare, and in these. It acts as an intermediary, an arbiter, and when you remove or you put the arbiter in control of one side of the financial equation, then you don't have an arbiter. Then they get to make the rules, and they get to decide your life or death situations. So what we have to do is we have to just hold insurance companies accountable for pre-existing conditions when they break the law, but we also can't assume that we can't say that, hey, look, you've been skating by free, not paying anything into an insurance plan, and then all of a sudden you get sick and you call up the insurance company and say, well, I just got cancer. Can I get on for $800 a month and you'll take care of me for the rest of my life? Well, no, that's not right either. Yeah. So, I mean, these are the kind of decisions and conversations that we have to have, in order to come to a reasonable place for healthcare in the free market. But we have to understand that we need we absolutely need government in the role of arbiter between the corporation and the patient.
Yeah, and I mean,
when there is a dispute.
Right, and if you want to know what a one-payer system looks like, just ask most veterans who go to the VA, and ask them how horrible their health care is. I mean, because now they're getting more of a the Choice Act. They can go out and they can go to a doctor, but before they had the VA, and that was it. And they have lousy care. They're treated poorly, and I'm not making this up. I've talked to a number of veterans who've gone to the VA. And this is what happens with them. I've also talked to whistleblowers, and I know that. You don't want that kind of system. You want the free market. We don't have the free market right now. And in this Senate health care bill, we're not looking at the free market. And on the other hand, we have the on the left, we're sitting over there going, oh, my gosh, if we don't have this, everybody's going to die. It's either one extreme or the other. And we need to get back to reasonableness. And if we don't get this right, the next president that comes along can change everything again.
Right. Well, you know what it is? We're always at a disadvantage in these arguments because the left uses feelings, and they pull at your heartstrings, and they tell these terrible stories about how a young child can't get health care, or like Jimmy Kimmel's kid who went through his ordeal, and they pull at your heartstrings. Yeah, everybody has to have this level of care, and blah blah blah. And of course, we want to take care of the kids. Of course, they're never really referring to the unborn children. They can die all they want.
Exactly.
Right. But you can pull on the heartstrings about your grandma or this one or that one, but they never ever say who's going to pay for it.
Yeah.
And how it's well, it's a right. They should have access to these services. Okay, so if it's a right, if health care is a right, then you should absolutely have a right to go to your doctor and say, treat me, right? And
Correct.
then the doctor, if you don't have money to pay the doctor, or you don't want to pay the doctor still has to treat you. And there's a word for that. It's called slavery.
Yeah.
So now we're talking about returning to a system by which people work for free and without compensation, and that's not where we want to go either.
No.
But you have to look at this stuff in reality. Healthcare is not a right. It's just not. You're responsible to take care of your own health.
Yeah.
Period.
And we have California who now wants to go to a one-payer system. That's what they want to do. And I keep trying to tell people, if California does that, eventually California is going to go bankrupt. There's no way that you can have that type of system without it happening. And then those other states who, let's say that the Senate health care bill passes, who opt to go with that, then they're going to have to be paying to bail out California and these other states that have decided they're just going to remain on this socialist type of program, and that's what's going to end up happening.
Right.
So
because California is too big to fail.
Yeah.
Although I don't think it is. I mean, break it up into a few different states, and let's get a couple extra senators and members of Congress on our side.
We tried that in California. I live in California. We tried that in California. We tried to break the state up into 6 different states, and they won't do it, of course. And
of course not.
Everything now is all run by the Democrats. It's all socialist programs, sanctuary cities. But yet, don't forget federal government. We want every dime that the federal government doesn't want to give to California because of sanctuary city. But that doesn't mean that,
right.
that the Democrats here in California still have their hands out for the federal government to keep feeding them money that they keep blowing and just might as well burn it. It would be better off. But so we do have a problem. If we don't get this right, it's going to be a major problem for the country, and we're going to be right back into full-blown Obamacare or the one-payer system. So I don't even want to think of that.
Isn't it funny how the liberals all of a sudden discovered the 10th Amendment?
Yeah, I know. Now they're worried about the states' rights. I know. I mean, it is amazing. Before it was like 10th Amendment. Well, we don't even follow the Constitution. It's an old document. It's outdated.
Right. Now they want the 10th Amendment. They want the states' rights and anything to stop Trump. Anything. And I gotta be honest. I woke up every day for 8 years, and one of the first thoughts in my brain was, how do I disrupt Barack Obama? So I understand where they're coming from.
Yeah. But you didn't go through with it. You didn't go out and try to do the steps that they're taking to try to and do that. I mean, because we have the right to do it.
I certainly did go through with a lot of our disruption, but we weren't standing in the middle of the street. We weren't causing violence.
Exactly.
And we certainly weren't spewing lies, just complete falsehoods to prove our point. We were fighting for what we believed in, right. and winning.
And there's nothing wrong with legal protests, as long as people aren't violent in the street, trying to, shoot people in a baseball field and things of that nature. That's what you should do as an American and speak up. But when it turns violent like that, then that is over the top, and that thankfully most conservatives would never even dream of doing something that illegal, drastic, and immoral all at the same time. So.
Well, because liberals operate from a pure emotional perspective.
Yeah.
Right. And what happens is when they don't get what they want, they start throwing temper tantrums, and temper tantrums turns into rage, and rage turns into violent action. And when conservatives get angry, they think.
Yes.
It's not just a coming from a state of pure emotion. We get angry. I get angry a whole lot.
Right.
My office used to be right next to the Orange Sea, down the block from the Capitol building, and I was literally a stone's throw from the Orange Sea. I thought about every day throwing a stone or two, But then you think, you're like, it's probably not the right course of action right now,
right.
Because I'll go to jail. So you think and you say, okay, well, how can I help make our country better without going to jail? And if I got to go to jail, all right, but let's not hurt anybody in the process.
Exactly. And you go to jail for a good cause, not, like you did in 2013 with the World War II veterans and throwing that away. That could have possibly put you in jail, but it was for
I told my wife, I said, here's my attorney's letter. She said, what are you talking about? I'm coming with you. I said, oh, great. Well, here's his number. And because I knew we were going behind the barricades, which was illegal,
right.
to set up the whole conference. And what was amazing, though, was as soon as people started getting, there were a lot of people. There were at least 10 to 15,000 people there. It was phenomenal. Yeah. And the police, the park police, came over to me and said, "You're the guy organizing this?" I'm like, "All right, here we go." Yeah,
here we go.
Started. The guy's gonna take me away. And he said, "Listen, I can't tell you this officially, but all of the police, all of us are with you.
Yeah, nice.
Just stay out of the street." I said, "Deal."
And didn't you at the time? Wasn't Ted Cruz, Senator Cruz, involved in that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Ted Cruz came, Sarah Palin, Mike Lee, a bunch of other members, Steve Stockman, Paul Brown, I believe, was there, and it was a great event.
Yeah, and I'm so glad that you guys did that. Because as conservatives, we do need to stand up for what is right, and we need to do it the right way. And the police didn't tell you to move, so therefore you didn't do anything illegal.
Right. There you go. Prosecutorial discretion, I think, is what Barack Obama called it.
Exactly. Now, I wanted to ask you, too, I wanted to ask you about Kelly Ward of Arizona really quickly. We're kind of on a little different topic. I want to know why the people of Arizona can't get John McCain out of office. Why do they keep reelecting him when especially they had such a great candidate last time as Kelly Ward? What's going on?
Well, I think the good news is Kelly Ward is running again against John McCain Jr., Jeff Flake, and I believe she is going to mop the floor with him.
Nice.
So why has it been so hard for us to take out John McCain? J.D. Hayworth tried and Kelly Ward tried, and well, part of the reason is there is a timidness amongst even conservative organizations to attack John McCain because of his war hero status. And so he's been a little bit of a Teflon, especially in these races because nobody can hit him as hard or wants to hit him as hard as to be, labeled as someone who's beating up on a veteran war hero. So I think that's part of the reason, and people in Arizona certainly feel, a great deal of debt and compassion towards that period in John McCain's life. However, he's been a terrible, terrible senator.
Exactly.
He was a terrible presidential candidate. He is he's known as a maverick, not because he bucks the establishment for the people. It's because he bucks the Republicans in favor of the Democrats.
Yep.
That's why he was known as a maverick. And John McCain has absolutely been the epitome of what a rhino is. What
Exactly.
somebody who is a Republican in name only. And thank goodness that Jeff Flake has all of those rhino qualities without the war hero status.
Yeah.
And I do believe that Kelly Ward is going to be fantastic in the Senate. She is a fighter. She is, she has the strength and the lack of political correctness that Donald Trump has, with the conservative principles that Ted Cruz has, and Mike Lee and some of our great conservatives. She is going to be, if you really want someone in the Senate who is going to, they say in French, kick ass and take names, go to Kelly Ward's site and contribute, because we definitely need her in the Senate.
Yeah, I was pulling for her last time. I really like the fact that she seems to really care about the veterans. And I think, she would do well to get more veterans on her side and do things with them, because I think they really like her. I know she does some work in the past, last couple of years, with veterans on patrol, homeless veterans that are on the streets in Arizona. I know she's been a big proponent of the veterans' cause for the committing suicide, 22 a day. Way too many veterans. Should not even be one veteran committing suicide. So I think from what I've seen, she reaches out for a lot of these veterans' causes and gets behind them. And I hope she continues to do that, because I think people need somebody like her rather than John McCain, who says, "Oh, I'm going to do all this for veterans," and he does absolutely nothing that I've seen.
Well, I can't agree more. And I don't wish John McCain any bad health, but it does seem like he's slowing down, and maybe he'll retire before his term's up.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
And walk off into the sunset. And then maybe we can get 2 good seats in Arizona.
That would be nice. That would be really nice. Now I'm going to switch again on another subject with you. What do you think? What's your opinion? I've been against this from the very beginning. Robert Mueller being appointed as the special counsel for this entire Russian interference farce, in my opinion.
Does anyone have any doubt that that Robert Mueller and James Comey aren't in each other's favorite list on their iPhones? Exactly. I mean, does anyone have any doubt that these guys aren't talking on a regular basis? And this was, I mean, Jim Comey said, I leaked, I can't believe he said this, I leaked my notes to the media through an intermediary to get a special prosecutor. You don't think he had Robert Mueller in mind?
I know.
Come on. Of course he did. And Robert Mueller has done nothing but bring on, these very tainted people to prosecute what? It's already been proved. There's no collusion. It's gone. That argument is over.
Yeah.
There's no Russian collusion. So then what did he do? He obstructed justice? Well, no. A president can't obstruct justice. Can't. The president can say, James Comey, you're fired for whatever reason he wants. He can say, this investigation is over for whatever reason he wants. The only thing obstruction of justice does is create headlines. There is no legal premises for whether or not the president of the United States can obstruct justice. He can't. Right. So it's not really obstructing justice. And if he were any other person, would what he have done been considered obstructing justice? Absolutely not. First
No.
of all, his words, according to James Comey, were, I hope that you can find a way to let Mike Flynn go, which can be interpreted as, I hope Mike Flynn didn't do anything wrong and you can let him go, right?
But
it's
Larry,
interpretation.
But aren't those scary words? Because after all, remember, Comey was so scared. He was
yes, he was scared. That's right. Let me just say, Comey is like, what, 6'9"?
6'8".
He's not a small human being. He's a giant man. And if he's afraid that because the president said, I hope, I don't know what he's thinking. There was also an article that came out, it was hilarious, about that some liberals said that what James Comey went through was just like what women go through in sexual harassment. So that James Comey was sexually harassed by Donald Trump.
Gosh, all I know is reading his written statement. It was amazing what he focused on. Oh, I talked to the president. I came in through the door with the grandfather clock that had the grandfather clock next to the door. I was waiting for a full description on that grandfather's clock because it was such a key point to what he was talking about. The man is obsessed, and every little detail, it seems, in his life. But, the whole thing with him, 2004, he had, started a relationship, a coworker, and been becoming friends with Robert Mueller, working together under Obama and under Holder. I mean, come on. There's nothing about this independent special counsel that's independent. And I don't understand why the Republicans aren't speaking out.
You want to know what obstructing justice looks like? It's Loretta Lynch going on a tarmac to speak to Bill Clinton the day before James Comey says there's she was completely guilty, but we're not gonna go after her. That's obstructing justice. That's what that looks like. And so if you're curious, but James Comey, one of the things that came out recently, and I'm surprised it didn't come out there. You remember the Clinton Foundation investigation? Yes. Do you remember anything coming out about that?
No.
I don't. It was just like, we're looking at the Clinton. Now, the Clinton Foundation sold weapons for favors to despots around the world. I mean, just that alone. Forget about all the money that was funneled into boost up Clinton and her campaign and her presidential aspirations for the Clinton Foundation. But the Clinton Foundation is this corrupt. It's akin to the mafia.
Yeah,
that's how the Clinton Foundation was built, right? And it was all to try and keep Clinton get Clinton into office. So why didn't that investigation go anywhere? Why don't we still hear about that? Well, James Comey's brother worked for a company that did the Clinton Foundation books.
Wow. Would that be Teneo? Is that company or?
Yeah. I think it was Teneo, right?
Mm-hmm.
So James Comey's brother worked for the Clinton Foundation, and you wonder why we don't hear anything about it.
I know. Well, and like you said before, Robert Mueller is hiring all these attorneys that were donors to the Hillary Clinton campaign. Again, it's mounting evidence against, Mueller, and yet we're supposed to say, oh, but he's so above board, he's never going to, he's going to do this, he's going to be great. Well, don't forget, he's the FBI agent that was in charge, who met with CARE, and decided at that time that CARE said, we don't like what you're writing about Muslims and that FBI training manuals that you have, so we need for you to take all that information out. So what did he do? He took all that information out that maybe made Muslims look bad in one way or another, because based upon what CARE said. So, here we have a guy. I mean, I'm not feeling that this guy is so above board and great, and I don't have to worry. Maybe I'm just not like the other conservatives who think, oh, well, no big deal. I think everybody in the GOP ought to be coming out and saying, no, we've had enough. And the fact, too, that we have Deputy A.G. Rosenstein, who may be called as a witness in this whole, Russian investigation farce, he's the one that appointed Mueller. why wasn't he recusing himself? Why can't we go ahead now, go to the third person in charge over there in the AG's office, who is a conservative brought in by President Trump, and let her, I think it's her last name is Brand, let her decide what we need to do with Robert Mueller. What we need to do is A, dismiss him, because as you said, nothing has been proven. We need to move on. Or if you're going to continue, we're going to limit your budget and how many Clinton donors that you can bring in. And what about, Larry, looking into what Podesta did, who allegedly gave the Kremlin, he received $35 million from the Kremlin when he was the campaign manager for Hillary Clinton. Are we not going to look into that?
Nothing to see there. I mean, look,
exactly.
it's $35. It's only $35 million.
Yeah. But
it's
now that's
it's no big deal.
I just, this whole thing, anyone could look at it and not feel that there was something totally wrong with this, and yet we allow it to just continue to go on every day, even when the Democrats are now saying, you know what, my constituents want this to end. My constituents aren't asking me about what's happening with the Russia investigation. They don't believe it. We need to move on. Why don't we just move on?
Because they can't help themselves.
Yeah, exactly.
And they've got the media who's fanning the flames for this thing, trying to keep it alive, trying to find any way they can to impeach President Trump, to impeach President Trump in any way they can, because I firmly believe there are lots of people on the left that believe if you impeach Trump, they're going to get President Clinton.
I know.
They're incorrect, but that's their thinking.
And the likelihood of a majority-run, House and Senate going and impeaching the president, because Congress would have to impeach. It's very unlikely. And, so the whole thing is a waste of taxpayer money. The taxpayers, if no one else, should be just insanely angry at this.
I mean, the government wastes money on so many different things, but to waste money on a witch hunt that is impeding what the president promised to do, and when a presidential candidate makes campaign promises and the American people elect him, it's the government's job is to make those promises come true, and not to stand in the way. Look, Barack Obama said it. Elections have consequences, right? And President Trump, unfortunately, has kept a lot of his promises through executive orders, but unfortunately hasn't been able to do anything legislatively because this Russia noise, and that's the end game. They want to just keep us off message. Yeah. And the longer they can keep us off message, the longer it's going to take for us to get real tax reform. The longer it's going to take us, things that will really stimulate the economy and bring so much money into the United States is to create some real tax reform and maybe do something really great, which would be potentially even pushing a fair tax. That would be fantastic. Well, not many people are talking about it these days.
No. And they want to get rid of they want to win the election in 2018 and 2020, and they think if they just keep this investigation going, making the president look bad, then they're going to get seats in 2018 and 2020. And after Georgia, maybe they can start to see that's not going to work.
It didn't work. 0 for 5.
Yeah,
0 for 5, and they spent a boatload of cash on these races.
$30+ million they spent on Ossoff to try to get him elected, and it didn't work. So George Soros money coming in, all the celebrities in Hollywood coming in, that didn't work. Sorry, try something different. Why not? Let's say try serving the American public again, and they might start listening to you. Until you do that, it's not going to happen. So that's. Now, are you representing, is your company firm representing Ted Cruz?
No,
okay.
we're not. We have our political action committee does support Ted Cruz,
okay.
And of course we can't have with the political action committee. You can't have any contact with Ted Cruz. But I personally supported Ted Cruz in the primary. Mm-hmm. Proud to say I've done that. But as soon as he lost and conceded, I was 100% pro-Trump, and quite frankly, Trump might be exactly what this country needed.
Yes.
And I might I don't think I backed the wrong guy. I think Ted Cruz would have been great, but there's just something about the way Trump is going about doing business, and that is just so refreshing, so different from what we've been used to.
It's because he's not acting like a politician. He's not doing things like a politician. He's not doing things like they do typically in D.C., which, Ted Cruz would have been, or anybody else who was already in as a senator would have been doing business as usual, most likely. And I do like, Donald Trump seems to keep in contact with the American people. I like that. I know a lot of people don't like him doing Twitter all the time. I personally like it. I don't care because the mainstream media is not going to tell me what Donald Trump is thinking. They're going to give me at Washington Post and the New York Times and CNN, they're going to give me lies as to what's going on and say anonymous sources that they never name or even tell you what agency they come from. So I don't want that. But I have a lot of people who say to me, what about Ted Cruz for Supreme Court Justice? What are your thoughts?
Oh, he'd be fantastic. I mean, I do believe he's a constitutionalist. I do believe that he's an originalist. And getting him in a position where he doesn't have to worry about running for re-election or anything like that and serving on the Supreme Court for 40-plus years with Ted Cruz's decisions would be incredible. It would be outstanding. He'd be an outstanding choice as a jurist.
And I agree with you because he is a constitutionalist, and that was one of the reasons I supported him in the primaries as well because of that. And I wanted to get back to the Constitution because we had spent 8 years away from the Constitution under Obama. But I don't see Ted Cruz wanting to be a Supreme Court justice. Now, I could be wrong. I just don't see it.
Well, I think it would absolutely. I think he would take it seriously because he was a law clerk, I believe, for Antonin Scalia.
Right.
He understands the important position that Supreme Court holds over keeping our country a republic. Yeah. And by the way, may I just get on to a side subject?
Sure.
I am so tired, and our side is as guilty as anything. Everybody calling it the democratic process. It's not a democratic process. It's a Republican process. We are a republic.
Right.
So, we are not a democracy, and everybody keeps calling this a democracy, and it's not, and it's
Correct.
Intentional. It was an intentional slip. A slippery slope that the media has been pushing on us, saying that that we're to try and tell everybody that we're a democracy and that Democrats ultimately represent the democracy and the Republicans represent something else. But we're a republic, so it's not a democratic process; it's a Republican process, and we have to keep reminding people of that, and hopefully reverse that slippery slope and get people to call it what it is and what it was intended to be.
Good point. Let me ask you in a few minutes that we have left, what do you think, or who do you think that the left is going to put up in the 2020 election for president?
Well, I know who Hillary Clinton wants to put up. I mean, they want to put up one of their own, Tim Kaine or Mark Warner. I think those are two Clintonite preferences, or not Mark Warner, the governor.
Elizabeth Warren
of Virginia. No, the governor of Virginia. No, Elizabeth Warren is going to run. I don't think she's in the Clinton camp. She's in the Bernie camp.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, there's a great guy running against her, Jeff Deal in Massachusetts. Your folks should check him out. He's a real solid conservative and a real good looking candidate. I think he can give her a run for his money.
Oh, that would be so nice.
It'd be nice just to expose her.
Yes.
As the communist she is at heart, but I think the governor of Virginia, McAuliffe, that's his name.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
McAuliffe is another Clintonite that they're going to want to run, and they will rally around. Bernie may not be able to run again. He's older. He might be in jail with his wife.
With the bank fraud
he might,
allegations?
Yeah, for bank fraud, wire fraud, all those things. Who's really under investigation? There is real there.
Exactly. Yes. And I keep telling people, look out for Kamala Harris from California. She wants to be president so bad she can taste it. You'll see that every time she questions anybody that is a Republican, she's extremely rude to that person, treats the Democrats really well, but just really goes after the Republicans. The woman is vicious. I can't say enough. Just because she's from California, don't think she's a threat, and she's also like a junior senator. She's a threat. She really is.
She's a real threat too. Believe it or not, Elizabeth Warren.
Yeah, I know.
Because those two ladies, if they do get in the spotlight, are going to clash.
Oh,
it's quite frankly, it's going to be fun to watch them eat their own.
Yeah. Well, and she's getting money supposedly from Maxine Waters. I think Maxine Waters, she's paid Maxine about $65,000. It's what is being reported, to help her to become senator and to help her continuously in her campaign to just move up the ladder.
Yep. Yeah, no, she absolutely is someone who is looking at the presidency. I don't know. Will she have enough? Will she be able to garner enough support in a couple of years as a freshman senator and make a big enough name for herself? Probably not.
I hope.
Especially coming from California.
Yeah.
I mean, she could win the presidency of California. I know you live there, but if they were to annex California, I might be all right with that.
Listen, if they annex California, I'm leaving. Don't even get, Texas or someplace better open up the gates, because I'm coming in before they close down California. We're looking at getting a new governor because our governor is term limit out, Jerry Brown. Thank God that he can't run again. But, we're also looking at probably getting one of the most liberal governors in here. And so, it's just getting worse and worse, the news in California. But I try to tell people, don't feel comfortable and say, well, that's happening in California. It'll never happen in my state or whatever. That's not true. And I think it's becoming more and more evident that as we move to these states that are really Democrat-run, they're looking more like California. They're starting to look the same.
You're like Illinois. Illinois is going to go bankrupt. California can go bankrupt. I mean, that's if you want to see the end of liberal ideology, you look at places like Illinois. You look at places like Detroit. You look at places like Venezuela. That's the end game of liberal ideology, is that all class warfare does, all this socialist, it does, it creates wider gaps in the classes, and it creates dependency.
Yeah,
so that
absolutely.
You don't have a choice but to vote or support, because at some point socialist dictators take over, and then you don't get a vote like Chavez, right?
Right.
So all you do, you just have to do what the state tells you, and when the state tells you this is what we're doing, and if you want your food this week,
yep,
you're going to do what we're doing.
Yeah.
And so, if that's
what you want, just
that's what then keep following the leftist ideology.
Exactly. And obviously, the people who listen to this show, they're never going to let that happen because that's something that they will stand and fight for, and I know that they would. We're not going to allow the left to take over and to take our liberties away. Thank God we have the Second Amendment rights. Even still in California, we have those, holding on by a thread, but we have them. I want to thank my guest today, Larry Ward, constitutionalrightspac.com. Thank you so much for coming by and sharing your thoughts with us today. It's been great.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Okay, take care. So there you have it. Great show today, and I thank you all for being here. There's so much that that we have to talk about today. There's so much happening, and it just continues to happen. Thank goodness for the win today, the partial win that we have at the Supreme Court. We just have to keep the momentum going. We have to keep supporting our president, keep praying for our president and this administration. We are by no shape or form out of the woods yet. We still have the Democrats that are continuing every single day to put on a fight to bring back themselves into power and to take our president out of power. We're not going to let that happen. So until next time, again, thank you so much for being here. God bless you. Be good to yourself, and we'll see you again next week. Take care.